Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
Goragraganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Nilachala Nibasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd like to read you something from the Brihanaradiya Purana. Sakyam Sapya Padinam Shad Ityohur Dharmakovida Satam Saptapadi Maitri Satsatam Tripadi Tata Satsatam Apiye Santas Teshan Maitri Pade Pade. Those persons who understand the principles of social interaction, Dharma, they say that friendship takes place in 7 words spoken or 7 words spoken or 7 steps taken together. So this is our book distribution also, right? We're making friends with people because you almost always exchange more than 7 words. And according to Shastra, this means this person is my friend. I'm not preaching to them, but we have some friendship, some connection. So 7 words or 7 steps, according to Shastra, that person is considered to be a friend. But if the person is a satsatam, a good person, then 3 steps or 3 words. And if the person is a santa, is a devotee, a saintly person, then friendship takes place at every step. And as we mentioned the other day, in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it says, Pradakshina Phalapaya Korila Brahmana. Brahmana means to wander around or walk. We were thinking to make a photo essay in our next magazine about Jagannath Puri, and just call it Walking the Back Streets of Puri. It's a very special thing, isn't it? And in Vrindavan also, I love that very much, just to walk, wander about in Vrindavan. Katha Maitri Katha Yata Hoyama Stavana. Anyone who walks here in Jagannath Puri, they get the benefit of circumambulating all the different sacred places in the universe. So we've gone on a long journey together, and we've walked far more than 7 steps. We've exchanged far more than 7 words. And by Vaisheshika Prabhu's mercy and Satyadev Prabhu and the senior devotees here, a very wonderful Vaishnav Sangha has come about. And many things, I think, have come, at least in my heart, many things have come to me from just watching the devotees and seeing their enthusiasm for book distribution and kirtan and the darshans, and trying to go to these places and trying to understand the feelings in that place, and understanding how when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did his kirtan in the Gambhira, the walls of that place, the ether of that place, it's scarred with those feelings from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan. And we go there, we want to try to collect some little thing of the feelings of that, so that we can be more useful in our service for Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Janas. So Vaisheshika Prabhu is very, very kind. Thank you very much for engaging me, Prabhu. I'm a very useless person, but I have one hope: if I can somehow serve the Vaishnavas. and bring them some pleasure. And so somehow he's tried to use me a little bit on this yatra. And he requested me this morning that we could have some question and answer session. So if devotees have any questions you'd like to ask about Jagannath Puri or Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, the places we've been, any of the kathas or anything, we can try to answer that. I should also like to just mention that we've made so many magazines about Jagannath Puri, and there's a reason, because it's such an unlimited subject. We could have spoken every day the last week for just about Jagannath Mahaprasad and only scratch the surface of that. Or we could speak about who is Jagannath and only scratch the surface of that. Or what is this Dham? There's so many things about it. So does anybody have any questions or comments, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful katha you gave us in these different holy places. When we were in the Tota Gopinath temple, you mentioned there's a reason why Balaram's there, but you wouldn't say it there in public. I was wondering if this is an appropriate place to say it.
You know, it's just like if someone's an orphan, you don't speak about that in front of them, right? It's just not polite. It's not a right thing to do. There was a dear friend of ours, a very senior exalted Vaishnav. His name was Gopal Ghosh. Maybe some of you have heard of him or may have got a chance to meet him. He was a dear friend of Srila Prabhupada's. He's a Brijbasi. Gopal Ghosh was in charge of the Vrindavan Research Institute. And he was like a walking encyclopedia. The man was amazing. Not just about history or whatever, but I could bring him a painting, an old painting, and show it to him, which I did on many occasions. He would say, oh, this was done by such and such and such year. He lived in such and such place. And he just knew. And he, if you spoke to him about some history, he would speak to you about the person's names and dates, and then he would quote verses about it also. He was amazing. And he helped us so much in our research for our magazine. When Srila Prabhupada took sannyas, he went and did Madhukari right after he took sannyas. And the first person he went to was Gopal Ghosh, his house. And we had, Krishna Kund and I had the good fortune also to go and visit him just a little before he left his body. It was a very emotional, moving thing. Anyway, I asked him this question once. I don't understand. Tota Gopinath, Radha Lalita, I can relate to that. Madan Mohan, that's good. Gorgadadhar, Gopishwar Mahadev, that's all Braj, Radharani connection type of stuff. But Balaram and Revati Varuni and Balaram, that doesn't really seem like the same kind of mood. And moreover, the deities look quite a bit different. The other deities are stone, and Revati, Varuni, and Balaram are a little different. So he told me that Mamu Thakur, the disciple of Gadadhar Pandit and the uncle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took over the service of Gopinath after the disappearance of Gadadhar, he wanted very much to build a temple. But he had no money. At that time, Gopinath was being worshipped in a mud hut. So Mamu Thakur had a wealthy disciple. But that disciple wasn't so inclined to give a donation for the temple of Gopinath. So, but that disciple was very attached to Balaram. He was a devotee of Balaram. So just like sometimes we see in the case of Srila Prabhupada and other devotees of our ISKCON movement, they're very tricky sometimes. So Mamu Thakur, he had deities made of Revati, Varuni, and Balaram. And then, I don't know, he sent an email or made a phone call or something to his disciple and said, it's an amazing thing. We were digging in the ground just near Tota Gopinath, and we found these deities of Revati, Varuni, and Balaram. But we have no place to put them. And so his disciple said, oh, I'll build a temple. And that kind of inner sanctum, the altar area for the three deities. When I first came here, when I'm sure many of the senior devotees first came here, when I first came to Puri in 1993, that kirtan hall, that wasn't there. That's a relatively new thing. I went to speak of the other buildings and things. So that time, and I have some photos in a very old Bengali Chaitanya Charitamrita of just that original building. So that was built by Mamu Thakur's disciple. Mamu Thakur is very tricky. Okay. Any other questions? Kankam? Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. This has been really wonderful. So, Tota Gopinath, it seems like when I came here in 1977, that it was just Tota Gopinath. Is that true?
Well, it's kind of
but
like
my memory's not that good. So.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like Hanuman. My Guru Maharaj used to tell this story about Hanuman, that years later, after Sita and Ram were all together and everything was okay, then he was hearing some Ram Leela, and someone was speaking about the Ashok Grove in Lanka. And they were saying, and there were so many beautiful flowers of different colors, this and that. And Hanuman was listening. He said, that's not true. He said, I was there. You're saying there's all these different colors. It's not true. Everything was red. It was just one color. It was only red. And why was he saying that? Because Hanuman was so angry. That's all that he could see was red. So similarly, you have such devotion for Gopinath. That's all that you saw, I think. Because Gaur Gadadhar and Madan Mohan and Revati Runi Balaram have been there for a long time.
So, and they're on the left side?
Revati Varuni and Balaram are on the left side, yeah.
And then when you're looking at the altars...
On the right side is Madan Mohan and Gaur Gadadhar. And there's also a Govardhan Shila about this big. It was worshipped by Hari Krishna Das Babaji, who passed away, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. He's very affectionate to me. He lived there about 40 years. And then in front of Revati Varuni and Balaram is another very special place, which is constructed about 5, 6 years ago by an ISKCON devotee, one Russian devotee, and that's a white marble kind of shrine. You may have seen that. So there's some footprints of Krishna at the base of that. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared from this world, there was a garland that the devotees found in front of Gopinath, and they took that garland and they put that in kind of a pushpa samadhi there. That's what that marks.
So you were talking about the Gambhira. I have a question about the Gambhira. When originally Lord Chaitanya, when he was given the place to live there, it was a straw hut. So was the Gambhira the straw hut? Or is this building, this actual building, because you just said the walls, and I know how he used to scrape his face on the walls. Yeah. So is that the actual building where he lived?
The current Mahant, his name is Krishna Gopal, his guru, Dhyan Chandra Goswami, not the original Dhyan Chandra Goswami, but a new Dhyan Chandra Goswami, is still alive. And the prior Mahant to him, his name was Satchidananda Maharaj, and he's now in charge of the Janjapita Mutt, a little technical. But he's a very learned person. He was in charge of the Gambhira for many years. And I don't know, 10 years ago or something, we took Indradyumna Maharaj there to Janjapita Mutt because they have the original deities of Narottam Das Thakur, and one of the sets of them, Radhakant. And Indradyumna Maharaj is really attached to Narottam. And so I introduced him to that Mahant, and there was a discussion. It was a very nice discussion, and I thought, let me take this chance and ask some questions that I wouldn't normally want to ask. And I asked him, I said, Maharaj, this Mahant, I said, are any of the structure there at the Gambhira, is that from the time of Mahaprabhu? And he said, no. And then I asked him something else, which he asked me not to speak about, but we'll say this in this intimate Sangha, but it's not something we should broadcast on the internet. I asked him, I said, I've heard.
Oh. It's being broadcast on the internet.
Should I not say it then? Okay. What's that? Actually, it's not such a secret.
You could turn it off for a minute.
We'll get a lot of hate email then. It's not such a secret. A lot of the Mahants and Sadhus, at least in India, know about this, although the Western devotees don't know so much. I asked him, I said, I've heard that this room, the Gambhira, is not actually the original Gambhira, but it's under the ground. And he kind of hesitated for a minute, and he said, that's the truth. And which makes sense, too, because Gambhira, generally, as we were mentioning at the Gambhira, it's generally an underground room. And I've heard, I have an aspiration someday in my life, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to be so kind, to be able to go to that room. I've heard that sometimes they take Mahants or special devotees down there. As far as I know, no Westerners have ever gone down to that place. But don't be disappointed. That room on top is also the Gambhira, because so millions and millions of devotees have gone there and they've felt that place. They've seen Mahaprabhu there. They felt something. And Mahaprabhu appears there, just as Vrindavan has appeared in New York when Prabhupada established Radha Govinda there. When the devotee comes and brings Radha Krishna there, when the devotees remember Vrindavan, that place appears. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has said this also in different ways. Okay? Vaisheshika Prabhu?
Would you kindly tell us some of the ways in which your Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, had talked about deepening and improving one's bhajan?
Which a lot of devotees might have a little hard time digesting, but he supported it with different pramanas. For example, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhavid Graim Indriyai. If we really think about that statement, famous verse of Padma Purana, it's a little shocking. It basically says you can't chant Hare Krishna with your senses. Right? Ata Shri Krishna Nama Adi Nabhavid Graim Indriyai. But Sevan Mukhi Hi Jiva Do. When we chant with the jiva, with the tongue, the jiva is one of the senses, one of the knowledge-acquiring senses. That's a direct contradiction to the first line of the verse. Sevan Mukhi Hi Jiva Do Swayameva Sparatide. Then the holy name appears. So what is the answer to that contradiction? It is that Sevan Mukhi, when we chant as a service for Guru, and that was something he spoke about several times, which I found very, very profound. Many times we're told that we should cry for Krishna. He told us that many times. Jagadatma Prabhu, who was here with us for a few days, once I asked him a question. He said, Maharaj, you're always saying that we should cry for Krishna, but how can I do that? I don't have any feelings in my heart. And then our Guru Maharaj, he said that after I leave this world, then you'll be able to cry. And it's a natural thing. After Srila Prabhupada left this world, I don't even want to try to imagine the feelings of the devotees at that time. It was a very, very intense thing. And we learn to cry for Krishna. So we have no feeling naturally for Krishna. It's just a theoretical thing. But I have a connection with my Guru. And I'm chanting Hare Krishna on his behalf. And this is something we call the mystery of first initiation. We've all been to a first initiation ceremony. But in one sense, it doesn't make any sense. We've never heard of an initiation ceremony where someone was chanting the mantra before initiation. We've never heard of an initiation ceremony where the disciple doesn't get the mantra in the ear. So but it's someone, and sometimes some Gaudiya Math devotees or others, they say, Prabhupada did this, but it doesn't really mean anything. If we say that, we're going to feel so much pain in our heart. We can't accept that. So then what is the answer to that? One of the first questions I asked my Guru Maharaj, first question, was, Maharaj, what is the difference between chanting with initiation and chanting without initiation? And he liked that question. He said, chanting is so powerful that if you chant, even without initiation, you'll get Dharma, Artha, Kama, and even Moksha. And even you can get something better than that, as you were mentioning the other day. You can get Bhakti Umukhi Sukriti, which the Brihanaradiya Purana describes that Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakti Sangaini Prayajayate, that by association with the devotees, by this Sukriti, this Bhakti Umukhi Sukriti, we get association with the devotees, and association with the devotees gives us Bhakti. Guru Maharaj explained like that. So, what then is a mystery of first initiation? We can find a little clue in Raghunath Das Goswami's famous verse in Mukta Charit, in his Mangalacharna, where he says that Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Sachiputra Matra Swarupam. If someone's a little astute and reads it, they may think, this is not our philosophy. What do you mean, Nama Shreshtam? Nam is Nam. Nam is one. It's Advaya Tattva. And if you say that Namashreshtam, the best name, what does it mean? That the name is really good on the weekends, but on Monday, Krishna doesn't show up, and he's not really God. You're making some distinction. If you say Namashreshtam, then maybe there's also Kebalanam. And actually, Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on 6th Canto of the Bhagavatam, he says there's two types of name. There's Kebalanam and there's Sneha Samyuktanam, or common name, which is in the dictionary. And that name, which is imbued with affection. So, Namashreshta means the name that I've gotten from Gurudev. So I'm chanting Krishna Nam before initiation. Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he's described that Sri Chaitanya Mukod Girna Hare Krishna Divarnaka Majayanta Jagat Premni Vijayantan Tadavaya. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave everyone the Maha Mantra. It's not necessary to receive it by initiation. Everyone can chant Hare Krishna. But there's a difference between that chanting and the chanting when we're accepted by Krishna's devotee. And therefore, that first initiation ceremony, Gurudev accepts us, and he gives us a dog collar, he gives us a name, which means now you belong to me, and we make a vow, 4 principles. Gurudev gives a lecture on 10 offenses, in effect telling us, okay, you were chanting before, now I'm going to accept you, and you're going to chant again, but now 16 rounds is your service. And Prabhupada writes in one purport that the most important service to the spiritual master is the chanting of 16 rounds. So Tate Krishna Bhaji Kori Guru Sevan. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, our Krishna Bhajan is actually our Guru Seva. It's not that I can just chant Hare Krishna and go to Krishna on my own, as we were saying in the Gambhira the other day, that I'm so powerful I don't need Guru. Now I've got the Maha Mantra, I can just chant. But I'm chanting because I want to please Gurudev. That's my connection with him. Once I went to see our dear Fakir Mohan Prabhu, an old friend of my Guru Maharaj who passed away last year. And very, very learned, wonderful sadhu. Some of you may have met him. He was very dear to many ISKCON devotees. And we had some discussion. He's an old man from the village. Didn't know anything about computers and electronics. And as I was leaving the room, he said, Madhavananda, don't forget to check your email. And I was really confused, and he could see it on my face. And he said, I'm not talking about the computer email. I mean this, and he pointed at my bead bag. That's your email. By this chanting, your Gurudev will speak to you. And one Vaishnav, they told us that just as the mother feeds a baby through an umbilical cord, that's the connection between the mother and the baby, and she feeds him that way. So we also have an umbilical cord. Can you hand me that? We also, no, the beads. We also have an umbilical cord which connects us with our Gurudev. And this is that umbilical cord. And if we give up this cord, then we'll die of hunger. This is our connection with Gurudev. So he spoke like that several times, I remember, and it really deeply struck me. Is that okay?
Would the result be for somebody who hasn't had first initiation and someone who has?
Well, as he said to me, that you can get Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Get so many things. The holy name is amazing. Namachintamani. It can give us everything. But one thing in the holy name won't give. It won't give us Krishna Prem. It won't give us a connection with Krishna unless we Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam E Matra Chai. Unless we chant with the sadhu. Because Krishna in the Adi Purana, he tells Arjuna, Ye me bhakta jana parta, na me bhakta sate jana. All those people who go around those t-shirts, I love Krishna. Krishna says, I have no idea who they are. They're not my devotee. But that person is a devotee of my devotee. He's a real devotee. So, although we can get Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha from the holy name, to get Krishna Prem, That's something, bhaktistu bhagavad bhakti sangena parijayate. That's something which comes from the devotee. Bhakti sanjayate bhakti, the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam says that bhakti comes from bhakti. Life comes from life, as Srila Prabhupada said. If we want bhakti, we have to approach someone who has bhakti. And then we chant, and that name, the same name, as a service to Gurudev, then Krishna will bless us in that way. But there's one other thing, as we mentioned a minute ago too, the holy name can give, which is much, much greater than Dharma, Artha, Kama, and even Moksha, and that's Bhakti Umukhi Sukriti. Satsange Prapite Pumbir Sukritai Purvisanchitai. The Brihad Naradiya Purana says that by some previous Sukriti, some previous pious act, which may be chanting Hare Krishna in the Kirtan or something, then we get association with devotees. And even after initiation, it's not, I remember Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, we went to Washington, D.C. just after I got initiated in my Guru Maharaj, and he was someone who always was very kind to me, I loved very much. So I went to see him, and he was asking me how things were going, and I said, Maharaj, I just got initiated. And he said something very simple, but which really struck my heart. And he said, initiation means to initiate, to begin something. Prabhupada used to also speak like that. He said, this is just the beginning. And coming from the mouth of that Mahatma, it pierced my heart. I remembered that. So it's not just that now I'm initiated and everything's finished, but now I have a connection with the holy name through my Gurudev, and now I have to work on that and go deeper and deeper and deeper in the holy name. And as we were mentioning the other day, Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nami Matra Chai, these two things are in cause and effect. It's like a circle. When I get Sadhu Sangha, what happens if you associate with devotees? They don't just say, hey, do you want to go see the latest movie? But really association with devotees means that you're going to chant Hare Krishna with them. That's what association means. And from that association, we get the holy name. From that holy name, when we start chanting nicely, then the devotees become more pleased with us. If you meet someone on the street and you give them a book, and they say, wow, this is amazing. Oh, what do I do? And you say, well, repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I remember when I first moved into the temple, I phoned my parents, and I was a little fanatical. I said, Mom, repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. She started crying. She couldn't. I wasn't very subtle. But sometimes we meet someone on the street who's really eager, and they start chanting like that. How do you feel? You feel so happy. And then how do you feel a week later? You meet them again, and they say, now I've got beads. And I'm getting up every morning, and I'm really trying to hear every syllable. You feel so pleased. So how does Gurudev, how does a Siddha Mahatma, how does Gurudev feel when he sees that I'm trying to chant? He becomes so more and more pleased. And so in this way, my relationship with him goes on. Tamal Krishna Maharaj used to tell his disciples that your connection with your Guru is through your japa, your most important service. Anything else, Vaisheshika?
Opinions and philosophies proffered about second initiation. Some say these esoteric mantras are only meant for those who want to do deity worship. They're not necessary. You get everything from the first initiation, therefore not important. Others say that you need the initiation, second initiation, in order to help you with the first, and so forth. And I was wondering if you could say a few words about what Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj said about second initiation or Diksha.
The Chaitanya Charitamrita say that initiation, Diksha, Gayatri mantra, is not necessary. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he gives a very long purport, you may remember, where Prabhupada just over and over again beats us on the head that you have to take initiation. And he quotes a verse, no dikshatasya vomaru, that if you don't have diksha, you may take birth as an animal. But Srila Prabhupada also sometimes, he told some people that you just chant Hare Krishna, and that'll give you everything. Prabhupada gave some scope for that sometimes. I know also my Guru Maharaj, some disciples, he told them it's not necessary. You don't have to have second initiation. You just chant Hare Krishna, you just chant 16 rounds. And Prabhupada, toward the end of his manifest presence, I saw some letters where he was saying that we don't need to give second initiation to so many people. Rather, those persons should be Brahmins. And I find it very significant. My Guru Maharaj didn't comment on this, but I find it very significant. And devotees who are present here, the older devotees, you can please correct me. I'd be very interested to hear about this. As far as I'm aware, neither Srila Bhaktisiddhanta nor our Srila Prabhupada ever explained the Gayatri mantras, which is a very unusual thing because in classic Vedic initiation, that's part of the initiation. You explain the mantra to the person. And even we've heard there's a story about Jayananda Prabhu. Some of you may know that I think it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Jayananda, I don't know how it happened, but Tamal Krishna Maharaj heard Jayananda Prabhu chanting the Gayatri mantra, his pronunciation, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj went to see Srila Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, Jayananda, well, he can't pronounce the mantra. What he's doing is crazy. And Prabhupada called for Jayananda Prabhu, and he said, speak the Gayatri mantra, let me hear your pronunciation. And Jayananda Prabhu started saying something, and all the syllables were crazy and wrong. And Prabhupada just looked at him and he laughed. He said, anyway, just do the best you can. But that's a very important thing. It's not a light thing. In Vedic culture, in classic Vedic initiation, you have to chant the mantra with proper pronunciation. Shastra says, otherwise you won't get the proper result. And you also should know the meaning of the mantra. So it's a very interesting thing. And also, you may know in our history of our Sampradaya that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who we consider to be Nityasiddha, was sent here by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave a few of our Gayatri mantras, which aren't found in the tradition. And we have no problem with that because he's such a personality. But the main mantra we have is a Kama Gayatri mantra, and that's given in Shastra. And that Kama Gayatri, that's something which will awaken our Krishna prema and make our connection with Krishna. Sometimes it's said that the holy name is all that's required, but we chant that Gayatri to help us to come closer to the holy name. And my Guru Maharaj, he told me in a kind of connected way with my Giriraj, who he gave me in 1993, he told me that because at one point I traveled with my Guru Maharaj as his personal servant, and Guru Maharaj was sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night, and I was also sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night because I was serving him. It was quite intense for about a month. It went on, and during that time I left my Giriraj with one of my godbrothers, and I was very busy with my Guru Maharaj. And when we came back to Bhubaneswar, and I went to get Giriraj back, my godbrother said, you should leave him with me. I like him very much. And then I became a little confused. I thought, well, maybe Giriraj wants to stay with him, and now I have a new service. Guru Maharaj told me to make this magazine, which is going to be a very full-on thing. So I went to my Guru Maharaj and I asked him, and should I do that? And he said, no. He said, Giriraj is your worshipable deity. He'll help you. And this is my understanding. It has to do with Gayatri Mantra also. Because that Gayatri Mantra will help us. That deity worship will help us. In one sense, it's not required, but it helps us so much. It keeps us busy. We have to be pure, and we have to focus on this mantra. We have to be a little more subtle. That's about all I could comment on his things. Malati? I was hoping you might have some comment on all this.
Well, actually, I just would, if you don't mind, this is a short paragraph from Nectar of Devotion, introduction, and it addresses initiation. Similarly, we can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with the bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciplic succession. Therefore, the execution of Krishna conscious activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed.
That says it all. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you.
Was it Janavi Devi that gave us the other lines, the Vaishnav lines in the Gayatri mantra that we chant?
I don't know, I hadn't heard that. You mean the wife of Lord Nityananda? I haven't heard that before. Traditionally, the first Gayatri mantra that we chant, the Brahma Gayatri mantra, which some have said that indicates Srimati Radharani, that first mantra is a traditional mantra. You hear it sometimes on the loudspeakers at the train station or something. It's like it's the Gayatri mantra, which is popular all over India. And it was a bit of a, I'm just speaking historically, and that was a bit of a scandal when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati started giving that to non-Brahman born persons. And although he never commented on that to my knowledge, we should think about it. In my humble understanding, which someone could please correct or maybe append to, my humble understanding was that he wanted to show that if someone is a Vaishnava, then they're automatically a Brahmin. And they can chant that mantra. And he had that for deity worship. We mentioned the other day, this is a little controversial, don't throw rocks at me, I'm just speaking history, it's nothing to do with me. But there, Damodar Swarup Prabhu, a friend of ours, who's both his mother and father were initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, his mother started accepting disciples, and she had about 300 disciples here in Orissa. And I asked him, I interviewed him about something about his mother, very interesting person, and his father, and how things worked. I said, did she give second initiation? Because there's some question about that. And he said, no. I found that interesting. He said, if someone, but they considered that their connection with her was their primary connection. And if they wanted to do deity worship, because you couldn't do deity worship in the Gaudiya Math or in ISKCON, unless you have second initiation, then they would go to some sannyasi or other person and they would take Gayatri mantra. That was their particular way that they did things. And what I learned from that, I found very interesting, is that at least in certain branches of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's family, they didn't consider that Gayatri mantra to be so important. That the main thing that was there was the chanting of Hare Krishna and their connection with that devotee. So I'm not advocating anything. Don't throw anything at me. That's just a little bit of history.
It's stated in that book with Narottam Das Thakur when they were transporting the books from the Goswamis. And it's stated in that little book about Janavi Devi adding those lines to the
What is that book?
Gayatri.
You don't remember the name of it? Who wrote it? Or
I'm looking at Vaish.
do you remember, Prabhu?
It's a small. It's green, and it's the
small green book.
It's a saint's. Vaishnava saints, yeah. I think it's...
O.B.L. Kapoor's book?
No.
Satyaraj Prabhu. Yeah. Okay, then you next.
Just on that point, I did read a book on Gayatri by Nrsimha Maharaj, our god brother. He was Guru Prasad before.
Jagat Guru.
Jagat Guru, yeah. And he states that the Guru Gayatri and the Gora Gayatri are given to us by Gopal Guru. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I've heard that. I'd like to see some evidence that people would accept, because that would be a good thing for us.
And then that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj Thakur, he adjusted them for us.
But in any case, at least from my perspective, I don't consider Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati any less than Gopal Guru Goswami. Both of them are eternal associates of the Lord. And someone else may not like it, they may not agree with it, but look, this is my Guru, and my Param Guru, and my Parat Para Guru, this is what they gave us. And we, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, Phalina Parichate, we judge something by the fruit of that thing. We have our line, and we accept it. Mataji?
My question is, during one of the classes, they said to advance in Krishna consciousness, there was 3 things you needed to do, is take Mahaprasadam, take the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, and take the bath water, the Charnamrita. So 2 of those things I see being practiced practically is the first and the third. What does it mean to take the dust of the lotus feet? Is that a practical application, or is that receiving mercy?
I remember once when in Giri, we have an ISKCON temple there. It's my Guru Maharaj's family place. And there's a deities there of Gopal Jew, who've been there for nearly 300 years in their family. And ISKCON constructed a temple there, I don't know, 20 years or so ago. And at that time, we invited the king of Puri to come. And it was a very interesting thing. About 25,000 people came, primarily because the king of Puri was there. The village itself is maybe 300, 400, 500 people. But because the king of Puri was there, it was a big thing. And we rented a fancy car for him, and he arrived. And when he got out of the car and he walked to our pandal, there were thousands of people going behind him, and they were literally digging up the ground where he'd walked because they wanted to get the dust from Gajapati Maharaj. So I've also heard stories of devotees walking behind Srila Prabhupada and collecting the dust from where Srila Prabhupada was at. Generally speaking, our Gaudiya tradition is that if you want to take some Vaishnava's remnants, their Mahaprasad, or their Charnamrita, then we go and we ask that person. We not everybody's like Jadu Thakur. Vaisheshika was telling that story, and by hook or by crook, by some trick, you get that thing. But generally the etiquette is that we go and we ask, can we have that thing from him? And they may be so kind to give us that. That's our general system. Nagar Prabhu.
I just wanted to ask about that point you just made, because there was one Swami that I think I took his remnants without him asking or something, and he got very angry. And later I found in the Bhagavatam, I came across the passage in the first canto when Narada Muni took the remnants of the Bhakti Vedantas. He asked first, but then Prabhupada says in the purport that actually you don't have to ask. So, and now you're saying that it's better that you do. So I'm just...
Yeah. That's our tradition, and that's why those rishis, they did, but we don't have to. If we're very, very greedy and we really want that, we may go for that. Thank you. Tom, come on. Oh, sorry?
I mean, we have to be practical. Like sometimes you're hosting someone who's a great Vaishnav, and then you take the prasadam and you know, like he's gone already. Like so you know he's not there to ask.
Yeah.
Anyway, just be practical.
We have to be a little tricky. There's a nice story that I learned. I'd like to tell this story. Sometimes when we have Vaishnavas come to our home, like Vaisheshika Prabhu or someone, we take them all over to all the different rooms in the house. And then I tell this story that on one occasion, Narad Muni had gone to Hanuman. He said, Hanuman, I heard that you're very expert in singing. And Hanuman said, yes. And so then Hanuman started singing, and he was singing so intensely, so beautifully, that there was a stone there, and Narad Muni had put his veena down on a stone, and the stone started melting. And then Hanuman stopped singing, and the veena got stuck in the stone. And that veena was given by Krishna to Narad Muni. Narad Muni's a little attached to it. He said, hey, monkey, you sing again so I can get this thing back. And then Hanuman just ran away. And Narad Muni became really annoyed. And so he started running after Hanuman, and Hanuman ran all over their house, and Narad Muni's running after him. And finally, Narad Muni complained to Riksharaj, the father of Hanuman, your son is really a badmas, really a rascal. What is he doing? And Riksharaj, he said, Hanuman, you're causing this trouble to this sadhu. And Hanuman said, no, Father, you don't understand. The dust of a saintly person is so powerful that I did this so that Narad Muni would put his feet all over our house. And so we tell this to devotees after we took Vaisheshika Buddha to all the rooms in our house. I don't know if I told you this last time, but that was our purpose. That they would purify us this way. Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was just wondering if you could tell us some pastimes or katha about the ocean here. Oh. I was just wondering if you could tell us some pastimes or katha about the ocean.
There's many different things we could say about the ocean here, but our time's is about finished. And I'm going to get in trouble with Shraddha. She's a frightening person. I don't want to see her anger with me. So we'll just say something very quick. According to the Skanda Purana, the ocean here, it's called Tirtharaj, or the king of all the tirthas. And why is that? For several reasons. One of which is because all the sacred rivers enter into the ocean. So when you're taking bath in the ocean, you're taking bath in Gange Cha, Yamune Chaiva, Godavari, Saraswati. You're taking bath in all the different sacred rivers. A second explanation is that Sri Kshetra, Jagannath Puri Dham, is in the shape of a conch shell. And most of the conch shell is under the water out here. So that's a very sacred place. A third reason is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates were taking bath there in that place on a regular basis, and they're still taking bath there today. Adyapiha Chaitanyani Shabalila Kwari Jakone Jahari Kwari Drishti Adi Kari. If we're very fortunate, we may see that. A fourth reason is that Lakshmi Devi, that's where her father lives. And sometimes she goes. She has a palace. When there's sometimes, this is a little scandalous, I don't mean to shock anybody, but sometimes there's some disagreement between Lakshmi Devi and Jagannath. They have a little marital arguments like that. And then Lakshmi Devi, she has a house where she goes and stays. And that temple is still there today. It's not far from our house where we live here in Puri by Chakratirtha. And she goes to stay with her father on the bank of the ocean. So the ocean is also sacred for us in that sense because that's the place of Lakshmi Devi's father. And there's also a special ceremony every year where Lakshmi Devi, she comes to see her father, and there's another place not far from Swargadwar where Lakshmi Devi stays. And a very interesting deity there of Mahavishnu. He's inside of a shop, a store. And to see the deity, you have to go inside the store, and he's there in the back. And they have a part of a function from the Jagannath Mandir every year that Lakshmi Devi comes from the temple to that place. Another fifth reason why it's very sacred is another fifth reason is because this is, Skanda Purana says this is one of the places we'd have to take bath. And we see the pilgrims traditionally, they'll go to the ocean, take bath before they go to Jagannath. A sixth reason is because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he carried with his own hands the body of Haridas Thakur, and he washed that body in the ocean, just very close to here where we're at. And he said that anyone who takes bath in this place, they're going to get Krishna Prem. That's pretty good. Okay? So those 6 different reasons. All right? So, Shraddha. Should we stop there? Srila Prabhupada ki.
Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, hey, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman.